It's a brand new day. Hey. Wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay? Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, taste those.
Hey y'all, welcome to the Garden Diaries. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, subscribe, give us a comment, like, share. We'd love to hear from you. If you're struggling with something that we can be praying for you for, we would also love to pray alongside you. But we're thankful that you're listening, and hopefully God is really using this to bless your life. And today is a special day. I know I'm not supposed to do this because Mike tells me that I need to make these podcasts really evergreen. And if I say it's your birthday today, then they know that they're pre-recorded, but I think they already know that. So it's Megan's birthday today. So first we have to say happy birthday to her. So in the comments, leave her some love, say happy birthday. I'm not going to sing because I'm tone deaf, but I did have to say happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Not that I like attention on myself.
She doesn't, but it is her birthday and it's her special day, so we had to make her feel special. And on your special day, you bought a very special person.
I did. Today we have Liz with us. She is my longest best friend, for sure, so far. What are you saying? And also my business partner. So we own a business together. So we're super happy that you joined us today.
Thank you.
To get started, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a mom of 3 babies, 2 boys, little girl. My husband, Daniel. We've been married for 10 years. Long time. I have a business, some pretty cool people. I have a coffee problem, turned it into a business.
Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty much my little blip.
Awesome.
It's a good one.
Well, we like to start with some questions. Some fun questions to break the ice.
I am so ready for these questions.
So Brittany's going to start us off with some fun, and then we'll get into the good stuff.
So I was searching questions because now we're getting to the point where we've asked a lot of really nice icebreaker questions. And I'm like,
so now I'm going to get all the hard ones.
I don't know if it's hard, but it was a cool one. So if you could choose to go back and live in a decade, would you choose the 80s or the 90s?
Well, considering I went through the 90s, I loved the 90s. I kind of wish I was a little bit older when I went through the 90s.
Yeah.
I was born in 92. So I really wish I had been a little bit older to appreciate the 90s. But I've heard some pretty great things about the 80s. I'm going to stick with the 80s, actually.
Okay.
Go through the 80s. But it'd be a good age, not like a baby. Like born in 80. I have actually lived through it. Like all the stories my dad says.
Like the age you are now in the 80s.
Yeah, if I could go through the 80s being how old are we? 32?
32.
32? Do that all the time. If I could live through the 80s being 32 and actually experience all these stories I've heard about, from my dad, were the 80s really that great?
Yeah.
I would do that. I'd go with 80s.
I feel like God gave me 80s hair in a world where we don't, 80s hair is not acceptable. I can't just, brush out my hair. It's coming back. I mean, the 90s I feel like is still in. I see all the trends that we wore in high school, and I'm like, that's funny. I did that. That's funny. Those pants are back, But I think it always, circles back through. But I don't know. The 80s were different, and I think my hair was ready for it.
I love your hair.
Oh, thanks.
Mine is lifeless and flat.
I would trade it. I
At
would
least you
trade
got
my hair.
it.
Yeah, I trade.
Just saying.
I would trade my hair any day for your hair.
What's your most embarrassing childhood memory?
Easy. Okay, so I was in 2nd grade, and they had this thing called Who Am I? And your silhouette of your face would be on the board, and people had to guess all week who it was. And then on Friday, they'd be like, oh, it was Liz. And then I had to bring in a book, my favorite book, and had to sit in front of the class and I had to read it to everybody. Teacher steps out of the room to talk to another teacher in the hallway. And I'm sitting up there, and I've had to go for a while. And then she made me sit up there and read this book. In front of the whole class, I peed my pants in the 2nd grade. And I was, so nervous. Okay. But in my head, I can still vividly remember this exact moment. Sitting there, I had peed my pants. They're all sitting on the floor, and they're like, oh, she just peed her pants. And they're, making fun of me. And I was like, but I didn't want to leave the classroom without permission. So I was telling them, you got to tell the teacher where I went, because I was, bailing. And so I walked out, and she was standing right there. But, yeah, I got to go home early that day.
Maybe we should do that more often. We get to go home early from our jobs.
Did you have any interesting embarrassing moments in elementary school?
I have more embarrassing bathroom moments now that I've gotten older and had children. than I have when I'm in. I for some reason after you have kids you cannot hold it anymore, and there is times where, yeah.
Whenever I was younger, my mom used to send me with overalls to school. She eventually stopped because I kept getting the strap stuck in the toilet.
Half the strap just floating backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Like recently at work, we were at a convention and we were doing something and I peed myself and I had to walk around in my outfit because we were at a hotel. Yes.
Real life here, y'all.
And like I couldn't change because I was working and I couldn't go up to my hotel room. So I called Mike and I was like, I peed my pants.
Did you just fall more in love with your
And, he's like,
what was his response?
He's normal. So
He's like, oh, again?
yeah. And I was with my boss, and he knew because it happened. But he had done something. We were carrying these boards, and it was like late at night, and we were carrying these huge boards to brand this event. And he put a hole in the ceiling of the hotel. And it was so funny because we were in an escalator and I was below him and he was holding these boards and the boards got caught in the roof of the hotel. And I started laughing really uncontrollably and I couldn't stop. And so, yeah, my boss now has seen that and I had to call my husband and then I had to walk around and yeah, so you're welcome, y'all.
Keeping everybody humble here.
Yeah, so there's that. Okay. 5 things that make you happy.
Coffee. Coffee. We call them family days. It's Saturdays is what we call them. Family days, what we call them in our house. But every morning when we wake up on Saturdays, the kids are always. It's just that peaceful, calm day where we get to just kind of do whatever we want that day. We're like, oh, it's family day, and the kids are so excited they automatically are in a good mood. I think. And then normally it ends up at Chick-fil-A, but just I love Saturday mornings. So coffee, Saturday mornings. I like getting out and going shopping by myself or kidless or with Megan, but like kidless. There's just something peaceful about that. Even if it's grocery shopping. We take what we can now. But like even just that. I love movie nights with Daniel. Like just sitting on the bed watching like we're on Ahsoka right now. All the Star Wars stuff.
Oh,
So
Mike just watched those.
Just sitting and watching all of those, love those. Like just having that one, like the episodes you look forward to each night, just like having that peaceful time. You sit there and like play a game on your phone while you're watching it. That's what does it nowadays. That's all it takes.
That's right.
Food, constantly, any kind of food. I'm a foodie,
Yeah.
a sweets person, but any kind of food. You bring me food, you're my best friend. That's how it started.
That's good.
What's a non-clothing item that you think you could definitely pull off as an outfit?
As an outfit? Let's see here. Why is my mind going to all forms of coffee things that we buy?
Because that's all that's on our mind.
Non-clothing things, like literally. I mean, you could always go with a lampshade. I mean, you get a little skirt out of that. But my mind is also
An outfit, so that's why.
My mind is literally
You have to have
The light bulbs.
really.
That's the top.
Oh my goodness.
It's a spin on Hawaiian hula girl.
This is all I got.
Lamp girl.
I don't have coconuts. I got light bulbs.
Be the light, Jesus says.
Oh my goodness.
Let's just stick with blanket to be safe. We'll keep it real PG. A blanket. A whole blanket.
Not a
A
house.
snuggie. There we go. A snuggie. Not a clothing item.
Technically, I think that would be considered a clothing item because you do wear it.
You wear a blanket?
Oh, yeah, a blanket. We'll go with a
Go
blanket.
with a blanket.
Not a
Oh my
lampshade.
goodness.
Dude, my mind literally went to like Mickey Mouse and like Happy Helpers, and like that was where I got lampshade from. My mind went right to that.
Tell me your mom.
Tell me your mom.
Okay. Get yourself together. If your life was a movie, what genre would it be?
Depends on what phase of life we're talking about here. When kids entered. Okay, let's see here. What genre? Either a comedy or rom-com. We could go with that. Probably a comedy, most likely, because you just gotta laugh at yourself most of the time with what you're doing.
That's right.
We'll go with that.
All right, last question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you were sent back in time to 1,000 years ago, how would you prove that you're from the future?
You can see my ankles. Hola. Just hear me speak, bro.
Just hear me speak, bro.
I'm dead.
Right there.
It's bro, not brethren.
You can see my ankle.
There you go.
Oh, well, that's not where I thought it would go.
What were you expecting?
I don't know. I was like, I don't know.
I don't get
Not an
you.
ankle.
I got a Cybertruck. Oh, that was really good. Okay.
All right.
We'll go
Okay.
with comedy. Definitely a comedy.
Whew. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for laughing with us because it's always good to laugh before we cry.
It's like foreshadowing.
No, honestly, it'll probably be me. So
He did put the tissues in front of me
He
for a
did.
reason. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm gonna try and hold it together. But obviously, we have you here today to share some of your story and your heart. And I know that you were talking about God's faithfulness in your life. So would you share with us? There's gonna be a kind of a two-parter here about God's faithfulness in your personal life and then in our friendship/business. So, but can you share with us about how God's been faithful in your life?
Yeah. So growing up, I was a youth pastor's kid my whole life. And, you know, being in ministry, you get to have like this special insight to a lot of things that go on. Just like seeing where the Lord works, you see the needs. And, you know, being in ministry, you don't got a ton of money in that, especially back in the 90s. And so there was a lot of times where like our family was obviously in need, you know, a lot of the time, just like it was one of those things where looking back, you don't realize how poor you were. And that was always my parents' goal. They're like, you guys did not know how poor we were. But it was like we got to see the Lord provide so much. Like I remember Christmases where my mom would come in and she'd be like, okay, I just want you guys to know. Like we came home one day and we had this bag of Christmas gifts all wrapped and sitting on our front porch. And I didn't know it at the time. But once my mom told me like years later, she was like, yeah, we didn't know how we were going to do Christmas that year. And people just give. And they just give like wholeheartedly. And so just in little ways throughout our whole life, those things happened so much. People just like taking us and just buying us a ton of clothes. We just thought it was really cool as a kid. We never knew why, you know. And I think that was a really big blessing that my parents were able to give us, was not, you know, burden us with, you know, adulthood before we needed it. And so we got to see a lot of just the Lord's faithfulness growing up as kids. You know, my parents would tell us like, the Lord provided this, you know, we needed this and he provided. And all throughout my childhood, going to school and whatnot, just in different ways, the Lord was very faithful to us, giving us a car, giving us different things. The Lord would always take care of it. And whenever we were, you know, the Lord also like kind of sometimes would throw a wrench into your plans. And for example, my dad ended up having to leave the pastorate. Our church went through like kind of like a split per se, and they had to get rid of a lot of like the staff. They couldn't afford it anymore. And so that meant that we lost our discount that we had at our school. I had gone to this school pretty much my whole life. And so like my 11th grade year, I had to be homeschooled. I was really bitter about that. But, you know, just the Lord works in mysterious ways. Because I wasn't there that year, I got to then the next year, I got to go back my senior year. But because of that, I wasn't there for some things that I didn't need to be there for. And the Lord worked in those ways that I got to experience other things, and just the little ways there. And then even whenever you get to college, you know, I went to college my first semester, and then I was like, I'm going back home. I'm not doing this. And I went back home for many different reasons, and then ended up staying out, going to a local community college for a semester. And then the Lord really worked in my heart, and I knew I needed to be back where I was, back down here in Florida. And so I came back down, and then I ended up meeting my husband at the right timing. You know, the Lord's ways aren't always your ways. And in the moment, whenever I was back at home, I could just see how I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. I knew I should be back at school and whatnot, but the Lord had his way. And like knowing now what I didn't know then, like I can see how if I would not have like had that struggle and left college and gone back home and not been there, I don't know if I would have necessarily have met Daniel when I did. And the Lord worked in it. And then I've also been able to relate to, we worked at the college, and I was able to relate to a lot of kids who they were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to stay. I don't know if I'm going to be here. And I was like, I left. They're like, you did? I'm like, yeah, I left. And then I had my semester away, and I came back. They're like, what'd you do? I'm like, I came back. And they're like, you did? I'm like, yeah. I was like, it was better down here than it was back there. And the Lord worked. And in those little ways throughout my life where I had not planned that, you know, the Lord works, and then you get to help others with it.
Mm.
And so that was always, you know, a blessing looking back. You know, retrospect, you can always look back and see the Lord's faithfulness in the things that you were utterly hating in that moment. My junior year, I was so mad, you know, like at the Lord and at a lot of things that had happened that I wasn't able to go to, like my junior year of high school. But I see now how a blessing it was. And then, you know, same thing with college, you know, doing that. And I wasn't able to, I met the friends that I needed to meet at that exact time, people who ended up being in my wedding. And then the way that the Lord worked, and I was talking with my husband about this the other night, that I was actually, I was obviously friends with Daniel, my husband who I was dating, and he was best friends with this guy named Austin, and Austin was roommates with Zach. And I knew, oh, Zach Abbott, like I just knew the name, knew who the dude was on campus, you know, and I heard, I remember talking to Zach vividly the one day and being like, oh yeah, I heard you got engaged this weekend, like, oh, that's so cool. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, I wonder what kind of a girl Zach would marry, like what she would be like. I vividly remember this conversation with him. Looking back at that, that is just so ironic. It like just how we ended up just I randomly just knew Zach because through so many people, like seeing Zach and just seeing how the Lord all the way through like what I consider a simple life. Praise God, I have a simple life, you know, like through a simple life, the Lord working in his ways behind everything that I had to go through as a kid, everything I went through just in college, just in normal everyday struggles. You know, the Lord works, he works his ways and puts people where you need them to be. And then, you know, then I ended up, you know, marrying Daniel, and then he stayed on staff at PCC to get his master's. And, I stayed for 2 years, and I was going to work while he was getting his master's. That wasn't my plan at all. That was the Lord's plan, though. And I had some heart issues that I needed to deal with.
We both did.
We both did. And through that, though, I met Megan. And, like, night one, welcome to PCC. You're now staff. Like, night one, opening meeting. Our husbands, like, I knew who Zach was. Like, oh, we're going to go sit with Zach Abbott. Because, like, all our friends had gone. They all left. Like, they graduated, they left. And I was like, we're going to be here now. Just me and him. I was like, with nobody. And I'm like, oh, Zach Abbott, of all people. Like, that distant guy that we knew, you know. Like, that was literally how I was picturing it. And we're going to go sit with him and his new wife. I'm like, oh, you're going to make me mingle. You're going to make me, like, have to connect with someone. Like, you guys know each other. And then I'm going to have to be friends with her. And, like, I remember having this conversation with Daniel going into that meeting. And then the boys just start talking, and I was just like, I'm Liz. She's like,
yeah, they didn't
I'm
even
Megan.
introduce us.
No.
Like, they left it to us to
I
do.
feel like that's a man thing because I can't tell you how many times like I've been around Mike, especially when he was in the military. OMG. Like he would be like, that's so and so, and it's like their last name, but like they'd introduce themselves with their first name, and I'm like, I have no idea who this person is. And like, yeah, it's a man thing because they don't think.
Yeah. But that was how we met, and then ended up bonding, connecting immediately. And I just felt this like release, you know, like I can breathe. I have a friend who's here and going through the same thing. Like we're both the ones working, the boys are the ones going to school. You know, you had that partner to like kind of lean on and go back and forth on, and neither one of us wanted to be there. So that was also a bond. But so there was that, you know, and we went through life together. But then even through something that I didn't want to do, the Lord was working. And he placed me in a job. I loved what I did. And like working in, I had a degree in medical office, and I was able to be a medical secretary, and that was awesome. Loved all the officey things. And so loved that part. But, you know, the Lord then started leading me and Megan through tough times in our lives. And the Lord just works. The Lord is good, and the Lord works. And you've shared about, you know, you lost your dad, and that's tough. Like, how do you, as a friend, what do? You're just there, and you just be there, and that's all you can do. You just be there. And then it became my turn shortly after, and I lost a baby at 19 weeks, and it was hard, but Megan was there, and she's been there for me, and it is different. All loss is different, and her loss is not the same as my loss, and that's okay. And that's okay that people don't always understand your loss. Even just losing a baby, there are a million different stories that go behind that, and a million different feelings behind it. It's not all the same. And through that, the Lord's been faithful, and the Lord is good. And I was able to I lost my baby in March, and then we got pregnant like 3 months later. But if you think about it, I never would have had my son Jackson if I had not lost a baby. And it's one of those things where I emotionally had to look through the silver linings of things. I had to get through stuff. And, you know, it was, I mean, I feel like the Lord has given me the peace that I need with having lost a child, to be able to talk about it. So many people go through it and they're like, I can't, and they need to shut down. And that's okay, because your time's coming that you'll be able to. You know, you'll need to share your story to heal. And I was able to, in that moment, whenever leading up to, it was our gender appointment, where you go and you figure out, you know, what your gender is going to be. And leading up to that, I kind of knew something was off, just a little tug at my heart. And now that I have children, I'm like, it's mom instinct is totally kicking in. Like, something was off, and leading up to it. And then whenever we went, and I even told Daniel going into the appointment, was just, something's off. I just know that something's off. I think something's wrong. And we ended up finding out, you know, that the baby had passed like 2 weeks prior, and ended up having to have the surgery and stuff. But the Lord gave me peace, just immediate peace. And there was this, like, I tell Megan, I was like, it feels like a hug of calm that came over me in that moment. And I think it was because the Lord prepared me. I think leading up to that I was able to go through it, and he gave me that calm. And, you know, it was chaos after that. A lot of things did not go according to plan. They went to the Lord's plan, completely according to the Lord's plan. And like so many times, like in my life, looking back and actually finding things out later, you know, how people had prayed for me specifically, not knowing what things were going through my head. The Lord worked, and the Lord was faithful, because he knew what I needed as well. I actually ended up not having a surgery. I ended up giving birth to the baby. And that was something that I knew that I would struggle with later, but the Lord worked, and he allowed it to happen the way that it did. Kind of find out it was your mother-in-law that had been praying that, and like just to for everything to happen the way that it needed to happen. And it did. And that may not make sense, but it happened the way that the Lord needed it to happen, the way that I think I needed it to happen, looking back. And he was so faithful to me, and he was just there. And I can still feel the calm and the peace from that moment. But because of that, like, I had people, you know, we had just posted that we were pregnant, because I'm so delayed on social media. I just posted, hey, we're pregnant. And then that happened. And so I had to post, because people kept going, oh, how's your baby? And I'm like, well, I had to post it. And so we posted it. And then after that, shortly after that, I had so many people reaching out to me, people in my family that I did not know had lost children before. And they were all like, I have two. I have two. I got cards from people. I have two. And just telling me like like their story or just a little blip of it. And like, this helped me. And I gotten reached out to by friends, even whenever they, like after like a year, 2 years, 3 years later, people reaching out to me saying, you know, like, this is happening to me right now. I need to know what to expect. And I was able to walk them through, like, you're in the same scenario I was. This is what my options were. This is what happened. And I was able to help them by giving them the details that they needed in that moment. And just the Lord worked through something that it is sad. It is sad, but the Lord worked through it. And it's like, even if I didn't get to, you know, have that baby in this life, like, the impact that he has still had in this life. Like, how cool is that? You know, something so sad. So like, I have to go to the happy. I have to go to that side of things, or you can go down a bad path. You really can. In any form of death or hurt or struggles, I had to start looking to the happy. And you know, there's just been times whenever you'll be talking with somebody else who was in the same scenario and they're like really sad about it. I was like, yeah, but how cool that me and you, we both have kids up there. My sister-in-law has lost babies. And she was like, we have this many up there together right now. And I was like, yes, we do. And she's like, I wonder what they're doing. And it's like, it's so true. Like, how cool that you can look at it that way. And that comforts me. That gives me such peace knowing who's up there with my kids, you know? And so that the Lord being faithful through my whole life, bringing you into my life when I needed you and when you needed me, and back and forth through the everyday, the simple, the hard, the easy, the absolutely insane, like all of it. The Lord has just been faithful through every bit of it. And, you know, even after that, like, just the people that like we get to touch in our circle, our new circle now of life, being in the coffee trailer, and how all of that has gone is just so unique. And the Lord being faithful and showing up in even just the simplest ways, just simple connections. All it takes is one conversation to completely change your life. And like, from, hey, do you want to start a coffee shop, to, hey, I'm actually serious. Do you want, you know, where we're at now, like just how all of that goes. Like, it's just God's faithfulness has pretty much been there throughout your whole life if you look back and you look for it. But that's pretty much what I've seen in my life, is just the Lord's hand through all of it.
That's good. We talk about a lot, like, on the podcast, like, well, maybe not a lot, but I feel like I've said this before. Like, I never understand, now that I'm a believer, how people don't believe in the Lord. When, to your point, if you look back on the puzzle pieces that he has to move to make things happen, and one wrong puzzle piece throws the whole story off. But like, to him, it was never a puzzle. To him, it was always his plan. And like, we think like, oh, we could have done something. And yes, we have free will, but like, his plan is always better. And it's just amazing to hear your story. And, you know, I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper, if you don't mind, being a PK. My kids are pastor kids. And again, I didn't grow up in church. I didn't grow up believing. I didn't find the Lord until later in life. So this is new for Mike and I, being in ministry. And I think one of the things that him and I have always made the promise to our kids is they didn't choose this life. They are coming along with us, and I'm thankful that they did, but they didn't choose to live, eat, breathe ministry 24/7 like they do. And so like, we try to make a really conscious effort to take ministry out, sometimes not take the Lord out, but take the ministry aspect, the serving aspect out of what we do. So I loved what you said about like family days that you do right now with your family. We try to implement something similar, but I guess what I'm asking you, and this is a very selfish question here, was there things that you did, like your parents did, that really helped you not stay, and I'm trying to word this in a politically correct way, like not get overwhelmed with ministry and not feel like it's a burden, but it's a pleasure to serve people. And like, that's what we're trying to show our children, not that it's, you know, because sometimes it's like, oh, we got to go do this, we got to do that. And like, they're kids, like they don't want to go help someone down the stairs, you know, like that's not what they think is fun. So I guess what I'm asking you is like, what did y'all do as a family that really helped you kind of escape that really ministry mind focus, but still kept the focus on the Lord?
That's a really good question. I feel like the time frame that we grew up in is different than now. And, back then, honestly, my parents just made us a part of, we all did life together. And anytime that my dad had to go help somebody like re-roof, like specifically that's in my mind, I was like, I'm coming. Like me and my brother were just there. We wanted to be there. We wanted to be the ones who went with dad early to unlock everything. And we got to do all of the physical things like unlocking all the doors, hanging all the signs, putting all the stuff together. But we never viewed it as like, oh, here's church again. Oh, there's church again. And there's church again. And we'd go set up for church, create church, do all the things church, because that was what we did. But my parents made it fun, and they also explained what we were doing. Like they explained like, hey, there's this lady, she lives by herself, she's all alone, and she needs a new roof, and so all of the guys in the church are coming over and they're going to go help re-roof her roof, and we're going to be a light and we're going to go help her. All right, like we just didn't think twice about it, and we just went and we helped. There was definitely like, my dad was a youth pastor, so that also did change some things, because being a youth pastor, you do all the fun, cool things, like everything. You get to go to camp every summer and stuff. And my brother always got to go with them. And you just never once did they ever not do something because, oh, we have kids, we can't do that. No, they hauled us to everything. And I think that
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
bring them. Honestly, I loved my childhood. Like I would go back and redo my whole childhood. I don't know if that's rare. People nowadays like, I'm not going back and doing that. No, I'd do it a heartbeat. But like we made family time be family time. But we made it be family time while we were all together. Like we would be doing something for the church, but we had fun doing it.
Yeah.
It never seemed like a chore to me growing up. Looking back, like I see going to the church when it was like pitch black inside. We got to like run around the whole place. Like we owned that joint. Like we loved doing that. We loved being a part of the teen center and helping out and stuff. My parents made the ministry, like they made us view it in a fun way. Like, but it was practical, like they explained we're helping people, and that's what you're supposed to do in life. Even if you are not a pastor's kid or a pastor or anything, like you're still supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be helping. You're supposed to be doing all these things. Cause now I'm not in, ministry. Now I'm married and have my own family, and I'm like, what are we doing? It's like, it's different now. And now you're supposed to be doing those things. But I think whenever my parents, like growing up, they just made family time. And like we would go every summer. We had that 1 week of vacation where everything would shut off with dad, with mom, and it was just us together. And then like my grandparents had a farm, and we would go over to the farm. It was like 10 minutes away, and we would just be there together. Even if it was like dad being gone, like we had family time. We had family around us, like actual family, grandparents, cousins, all that. And we would just have family time. And so I think having that time apart definitely helped. But whenever we were in it, doing it all, they explained it and said, this is why we're doing it. But they made it fun. We never like dreaded having to go to the church and unlock everything, take all the stuff back to the kitchen, tear down afterwards. Like we liked that part of it. We loved that growing up.
See, and my kids don't complain either, which I think is amazing. Like the other day, like the last week of school, Addie was like, Daddy has staff meeting on Tuesdays. Can I go with him to staff meeting? And I'm like, no, like, you're not allowed to. She's like, I just want to go to church and sit in his office.
Yeah, like I totally get that.
You're home right now. Like, there's a pool out back. There's a trampoline. You have Barbies. You have your tablet. You want to go to the church and sit in his office.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like
why?
The teen center, we loved going and just sitting in the teen center and playing with this, just being a part of it. We loved that. We loved every bit of it. It's unique. Your kids get a very unique experience, and I would just let them go for it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think sometimes Mike and I talk about that a lot, like, because we didn't grow up that way. And I'm like, I don't want them to feel like their entire life is this. I mean, it is. Really, it is. And, like, I want them to know the why, and I want them to know that, like, this is what God calls us to do, and this is, like, but again, he always says, like, his calling is not my calling, and it's not our kids' callings. Like, we all have unique callings and gifts and talents that the Lord gives us. So, thank you. That was a very selfish question on my behalf.
I don't think it's selfish. I think it's just reaching out for resources to help you. Kind of going into like the second part, I guess, of this, and I think it's important, I guess, to mention this aspect because, as women, like if you're a mom, like mom is, me and you were literally talking about this the other night, like it's a full-time job. And then if you're, all the other things that you do, whether it's a business owner or a pastor's wife, like it's busy and life doesn't slow down ever. But the thing, like she was talking about, or Liz was talking about, God has been completely faithful. I never expected the night. I remember the night I met her. And I too was kind of going this, oh great, like I gotta make, my husband's making me make friends. And because I was struggling moving down here. I was moving away from family to a place I had I had gone to school for 1 year here, but I didn't want to come back. So I was like, all right. But I think it was so funny, like how our friendship started off as me and her like initiating it. Cause it was like, okay, this friendship's gonna go somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, because we, like, it wasn't like, cause literally the boys just started talking. We were sitting there like, hey. And I remember seeing her ring and I was like, oh, her ring is so pretty. Cause it was like the lights, it was glistening. Anyway, so we met. And as she said, like we went through a lot of like our hardest points in life together. And Liz mirrored God and his faithfulness in her friendship with me, because after I had lost my dad, and I've mentioned this in a previous podcast, like I reclused myself. I pushed my husband away. I pushed anyone close to me, including her. And she actually shared with me today, which I didn't know this, that apparently her and Zach had phone calls back and forth like, hey, how was Megan when you were with her today? Like
give a report at the end of your shift.
Because
I was patient.
like to know like where I was at, because I was really struggling communicating to anybody. And like she mirrored God's faithfulness to me in her friendship, because she didn't give up. She didn't walk away when she gave her every reason, not like, why am I her friend? Like, and then obviously God worked in my life and started softening my heart. And then I like, and then she went through one of the most difficult parts of her life. And God was just so evident in our friendship. And we both thought we were only going to be in Pensacola for 2 years. And then God said, no, 8. You're going to be at this job for 8 years. And it's funny to us because, and I remember, I think we both hit that point at the same time where we're like, we got to change our attitude.
Yes.
Like, because all we did was complain to each other about what, like, and I think when we both started like changing our mindset, like, okay, God has us here, let's make the most of it. Our like whole perspective of life changed. There was stuff obviously we didn't enjoy, but we made the most of it. And after we went through these hard things, her and I, obviously, one of the things that we bonded over was coffee. And we went on a lot of coffee dates.
A lot.
Yeah.
Of coffee
That
dates.
was like our escape. Hey, you want to go get coffee? Absolutely.
Right before work, we have 20 minutes. Let's go.
Can we make it?
Lunch break.
And we would always know, traffic's too bad here. We need to go there.
Yeah.
And there was a point where she actually lived next door to me, which was
The
even more
best
convenient. And anyways, as we like fast forwarding to 2021, we've always kind of like mentioned back and forth, like we wanted to shop, like own a coffee shop one day. And so 2020, I lost my father-in-law, and that was just when things started like hitting me. Like life is so short, and you don't know when your last breath is,
Or your next
or
one.
your next one, if you'll have one. So, but like you, like it really hit home with me. Like life is but a vapor. What am I doing with my life? And we went on a girls' trip, and I had been thinking about this. Like, I really want to do. I don't know how we're going to do this, but I really want to own a coffee shop, and I really want to do it with her. And I was, yes, you were pregnant.
Yeah.
You were pregnant. With Logan.
One of us was always pregnant.
Yes,
I don't know.
I don't know.
It all blurs there for
It does
a
all
while.
blur. But I remember we sat and I said, hey, I was like, God's kind of like laying this on my heart. And we've talked about it. We've joked about it. Always thought it was just going to be like a thing we joked about, like, oh, this is our dream to get out of
I think
this.
everybody has a future coffee shop they're gonna open one day.
Yeah.
Or like a restaurant
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
business.
Something like
yeah.
that they just would make them happy,
Yeah.
like a fun thing. And I said, I really want to do this. And we had like small little business ventures. We did like a
Our wood burning.
we did wood burning.
And
That
then-
was kind of like just I don't know.
Just made some fun signs.
It was it was fun. We
Hardly
made signs for people's weddings and stuff like that. It was fun, but that was just like it was like during while we were pregnant with the babies were little, and it was just something as moms to keep us busy.
Yeah.
And I said, "Would you want to do this with me?" And she said, "Yeah." So I said the thing that we got to do is give it to God, though, because He's been faithful in our lives, and we need to just give it. And before we form anything, we need to give it to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And so over that next year, we prayed and we hustled and prayed. We prayed a lot,
Every meeting.
and
Start
our husbands, Zach and Daniel, were on board. They're like, sure, if that's what you want to do.
I don't know if they really thought it would happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. They're like, yeah, this is just another one of those little things.
Another pearl simplicity.
And but as the time got, like, we found our first trailer, and we said, God, like, we're giving this business to you. Use us in whatever way you want us to be used. And He was faithful.
Mm.
And we, even when our faith was failing, like, we're like, oh, He was faithful. And then, and He blessed our faithfulness as well. And I remember the day was our last day of work at our full-time job that we left. And that was a big, like, very pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, we are saying goodbye.
We're doing this. We're cutting the safety cord
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's
We're
'cause
like,
that's a big safety net.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was consistency. It was a consistent paycheck. And our friendship had always, we had like little things, every friendship goes through little things. And we had little like, oh, you're hanging out with this person a lot. I'm kind of jealous. But like nothing like
I don't think we had actually had like
a fight.
a full on fight.
Like
until then.
it
And
was,
people kept saying, "This is gonna change your friendship."
yeah. And we
I
said,
was
nah.
just like, "No, bro, no."
But I will say those first few months, I struggled really bad. My faith was shaken, and I can't remember a day I didn't cry in the first at least 3 months when we started.
She's not lying.
What are you fighting about?
No,
Oh,
not fighting.
No.
Oh.
No.
I'm like, wait, what
but-
happened?
No.
Give me the tea.
We'll get there. I didn't realize how bad I dealt with change. And I think because, especially after losing so many people, whenever something's consistent and then you have like, it's all faith. Like, owning a business is walking out on faith, because our business is sustained by sales. So if sales aren't coming, if we ain't sending a cup of coffees out the window, we are in the hole. And we were in the hole.
Obviously starting out, and
Yeah.
then we also went from desk jobs to physical lot of manual labor there. All of that, understanding how a generator works, to hooking everything up, to do we know how to make coffee, like, from everything, like figuring it all
That
out.
probably should have been step one. Just saying.
It was back there, but the confidence in
Yeah,
it
it was-
wasn't,
Because we were
fully there.
everything self-taught. Like,
Yeah.
we
Neither one of us knew. Like, it wasn't like we were previous baristas. We just had that love of coffee and knew that this was not my color. And we were like, this is what we're gonna do. Let's open a whole trailer.
Yeah,
And
and
we did, but it was a struggle there for those first few months because of change, because of the consistency not being there. Just honestly relearning each other too in a completely different environment.
Yeah.
Like having to stick with what you just decided, and we both wanted it. But yeah, you did struggle those first few
Yeah.
months with.
And like she said, it was different because in our previous job, we were mad at everybody else. So we
Yeah.
would rant to each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
but when you're mad at each other, you can't
Whenever-
rant to each
You
other.
go to the other side of the
Like,
trailer.
yeah, that coworker though, you don't got anybody to go to. You're like, guess what this coworker said? You are the coworker
And
now.
then you learn different things. Like,
Yeah.
if she doesn't eat, She's mean.
She learned hangry Liz.
But not mean. She's quiet, but you like,
You're not you when you're hungry.
yeah, no.
That's
I
my
mean,
husband. I
so
fed my
West
husband before we did this because
Yeah.
he ate him when he
Yep.
hungry.
you're not mean. You're just
I get quiet.
yeah, but that silent
I
is
get-
and I
mean.
can be like, "Hey Liz, you want a donut? Like, we should split a donut." Like, just, feed Liz. Learning that.
Yeah.
Learning you. Learning like when you got quiet, it didn't mean that you were mad at me. It meant you were thinking.
Yeah.
And you were processing, and I'm over here going, "Oh man, what was the last thing I just said?" Like, what
She is a silent processor.
I am.
But you let her process.
Well, and
then
I
she's
don't. I chase after her and
She-
I bug
she
her.
did the other night. I had literally told her I was like I had to go cry. I needed to cry by myself for a minute.
And I ran after her. Like,
And I looked
told
up
me,
and
I
I was
was
like, oh, she's here. But I mean, I appreciate that value. Don't get me wrong.
I don't know if you do, but that's fine.
No, I love being chased.
I mean, Jesus chases
down.
after
He is.
you.
He
and he
leaves-
chases after the one. And
the
you're,
one.
You're the
I was
one
the
I was
one.
chasing.
Thank you for.
You were my sheep, and I was your shepherd.
I was gone astray for a little while.
a whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, but it
It
was.
was less than 5.
She was out there quick. I was like, how's she already here?
She done stormed out. She like,
I didn't know. Storm. I said, bye.
bye. And I'm like, what happened? I looked at Bree and I was like, what happened? She's like, I don't know.
She's
And
like,
I
"I'll
was
go
like,
find out. I'll be right back."
I'm like, oh, you wait. I will find her.
So, fun fact about me: whenever I'm processing,
She gets quiet.
I get
She
very
looks
quiet.
mad.
I do look very,
Very
mad.
mad. Very
But
mad.
it's just because I have so many thoughts, and I don't know how to like.
She wants to say it the right way.
Yes, and I have a fear-
communicate it the right
Yes.
way. Whereas I'm just like, yeah, just blurt it out. We'll process.
And I
as
have a
you
hard
go.
time.
Bro, what's in there? Like, I need to know. Yeah.
And whenever I am like my emotions are high and I'm whatever, like I can't think straight, so the words don't come out right.
I'm like, what's wrong? She's, I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? You're upset. Like, something's making you upset.
She can't tell you. You gotta give her a minute.
Until I come down, I'm like, okay, now I can explain. And then I texted you later,
did.
like once I
Did you get a text?
I did.
Yeah.
2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And like I'm one of those people, like if somebody sends me like a 2-paragraph long text message, like I feel like I have to respond with so much, like you spend
You
so
have to
much
match
time on
it.
this. Yes, that energy that you spent.
I'm really a fast typer. I didn't spend a lot of time.
And
So
what
I
does Liz do?
Okay. Thumbs up.
Oh, Megan texted me. Gotta go do this.
Well, like
I'll
and
reply to that.
sometimes I say to her, I'm like, hey, I saw your story on my my text messages. Let me get right back to you in like maybe an hour when I got some time.
When I'm done with this novel.
That's how I'm not I
But I
can't
love it.
shorten things. I can't give Spark Notes. I give you the whole book. I'm sorry.
This
Long
is why
story
you need to write your book.
Yes. I can be very wordy too, which
Yeah.
it's just who I am.
But that's your love language, is like the way that you express and like the way
yes,
that you
it is.
words of affirmation, and like the way that you're loved and the way that you give love is the way that you express yourself in communication.
It's also what you need.
yeah.
Is what she needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can y'all work on this texting back, please?
Now that
I'm
we know,
just
are we
kidding.
gonna address our
I'm
faults?
just kidding.
Maybe we put us in a group text.
There you go. If she doesn't tell you what's wrong, I'll tell you what's wrong.
Hey,
problem
Megan
with
is
us.
not talking today. What is going on?
A lot of times though, like I think people think I'm mad at them when I don't respond immediately, but I'm normally like I'm in the trailer and I don't look at my phone.
Yeah, no, she don't.
But you also like to take time to respond
Yes.
to people.
I think through a lot of things. Anyways, this is not supposed to be about me. This is supposed to be about you.
Well,
So let's move on,
I was
please.
just gonna say though, like I love that about you, because like I feel like, you know, we've been talking about like slow to listen,
Mhm.
and like slow to speak, quick to
to
listen,
listen. Yeah.
quick to listen. Yes, sorry, Jesus, it's in here.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yes, that. To listen more and be slow to speak. There we go. And that's what I struggle with. Like, I'd rather give you an answer right away rather than ponder what I probably should say, what the Lord wants me to say. I would rather be more responsive quickly, which quickly doesn't always result in the Lord's plan. It results more in my plan than it does the Lord's. So I admire that about you.
Thank you.
That's definitely something, like, I'm the same. Like, I'm like, oh, is there an issue? Can we fix it, like, right now?
Yeah.
And that was something, though, that, like, we even had to communicate, though, in the trailer. Like, we had to learn how to fight. Like, that's something important in a marriage. You got to figure out how to fight. Like, you got to learn
We're
that.
not married.
But, like,
But you're
in a
married to your work.
like, in a relationship, then,
Yeah, and
even,
yes,
like,
yeah.
a best friend relationship, you have to learn
Yeah.
how do you two
Yes.
communicate. Like, what is it she needs? What is it I need? Okay, now you need to meet in the middle on that.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I need 12 years to reply and she wants to talk right away, then yeah, like, you have to meet in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
And so we had to figure out how to communicate. Like, what is it that you need? What is it that I
Yeah.
need? And then, like, you're like, I just need time. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. And then, but we had to figure that out.
Mhm. Which is funny because you're like, oh, we didn't figure this out in the 8 years before we
No,
started
I
a business.
know.
No, we figured it out while we sitting
Yeah.
in a 14-foot trailer.
But I think it's also important, like anyone who's
We can
listening.
fix all your problems. Shove them in the trailer, close the door, do a shift together.
You got this.
There you go.
But I think
Marriage
that's
counseling.
important. Like communication is such a key part in marriage. But like what you said, like I think it's also important for listeners that are listening. No matter what relationship you're in with anyone, be it a work relationship, a friendship, a marriage, a boyfriend, girlfriend, a fiance, like communication is so important, and we're seeing that how it can bubble and like explode very, very quickly. If you're not communicating your expectations and your feelings. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to communicate their expectations and their feelings because they're afraid to hurt people's feelings. But if we do it like the Lord calls us to, out of love, out of patience, kindness, mercy, you know, we can do that in a nice manner that actually provides fruit.
Yeah. I don't remember where we were at.
I don't know. I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. We were telling the trailer.
It was the first 3 months of the trailer and how it was
Oh, yeah.
really tough.
Oh, yeah. And I was waiting for the tea.
Oh, so
I'm going to let Megan tell the story.
you probably tell it better. We just didn't fight. That wasn't our thing. And now emotions are like, we left our consistent job with a consistent pay. And now we're walking out on faith. And I think the devil knew that I was struggling for sure. And I'm so thankful for Liz because I leaned very heavily on her. And she a lot of times she's like, you just got to trust the Lord. And like I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I like those first like 2-3 months, I lost like 30 pounds. Like, cause it was not healthy. I was not in a good, like mentally, physically, emotionally. I don't know do we want to share like what actually caused the,
Girl, you go right on ahead. I was like, I'm just.
no, I don't.
She's just here for the ride. I want to hear the tea. Come on.
So what kind of spiraled everything, I guess. And looking back, it's kind of funny.
It's funny now.
It's funny. Then it wasn't.
But there's a whole point to it. Like the underlying problem wasn't what was said or anything like that. It was just miscommunication.
Yeah.
Go into it like that.
So obviously after we left, how did it even come up?
Y'all have me on pins
blur?
and needles over here.
Huh?
Like I blurted it out.
Well, I had been saying something because she had been talking about like,
I think it was like future plans.
yeah, we were talking about future plans and she talked about another baby. And I said, we just left our job and you're wanting a baby, which is not a bad thing at all.
She didn't know that like we had been trying for a while. Like
And like she said, like, she's like, I was afraid to say anything to me because she's like, I was afraid that you would lose faith. Like,
I was afraid she pulled the plug on the whole
yeah,
operation.
like, nope.
But like I didn't want to like not do the coffee trailer because I might get pregnant.
Yeah. And so we were having a conversation in the trailer that day and I just was saying like, oh, if this happens, you know, like this would be, I was trying to plan out her life for her and saying, this is when you should have. And,
Yeah.
and she's like, and I was going on and
My heart was pounding.
you can say what you said.
I can still vividly remember
Yep.
Megan's on that side of the trailer talking to me and saying, you know, like this is the plans and whatever. Like we did this, that'd be like real bad. And you know, if you were pregnant, and then I was like, she was saying something else, and I was like, well, I'm pregnant. And she just stared at me and she goes, oh crap.
But not in, oh crap, you're pregnant. Oh crap, I just said all these things and now I look like a horrible friend and I seem like I'm not supportive of you and I'm happy for this baby and we're going to have a baby. Well, you and Daniel are going to have a
This
baby.
is a marriage, remember?
And
I'm so confused where we're at now.
but it was how it came across. Like it did not seem supportive at all. And then of course,
Just see panic in her eyes. I can still see it.
and it ended up, there was just a lot of things that like, because of what I said, which is so important on words do, like they have meaning, even if like they can be misconstrued, like they're powerful. And that was kind of like the moment where we realized we're really struggling on communicating. Like we're
Well,
because
I was also afraid to tell you because we had stopped trying, and then the Lord,
That's how it
the
happens.
plans and the faithfulness, like literally, we started in the trailer August 2nd, and I was already pregnant by then and didn't know it. And so I was like, okay, Lord, really? The timing right now? But I didn't want to say anything. I knew she was really struggling, and I was like, I don't want to add to this. Like, I didn't want to break you. And we were trying to keep
I was
it
already
together.
broken.
I was trying to keep it together, and I was just like, I didn't want to inflict that upon you, but then at the same time, I kind of have to tell you at some point. And then the whole smell of coffee started really messing with me, and then there was that.
Yeah. There was like because of the miscommunication, it led to some miscommunication between our families. And that was very, very hard to go through because since we've been here, we've always been family. So we're friends that become family. And so we've, since we got married, we would always go to corn mazes together, like all this stuff. Like we
did life.
We did. And they like,
We do.
yeah. And like, I'm not a huggy person, and she's, her husband's not. And I'll remember like when Zach's dad died, like her husband came up and gave me, like, we bonded over so many things. Like there was a lot of hard moments that we went through, leading up to that. And so it was very hard to feel that rift. And it was finally like, God was just like, y'all have made it about yourself. Like you've taken me out of it. And Megan, you're trusting in yourself, your abilities. Cause I was like, I'm no good. I can't do this. I was like, I'm not fit to be this business owner. I'm not helping her at all. And then I was like, and then I said this, and I didn't mean that, but like I came across as this horrible friend. And over that year, like we just really started working on it. And it was just hard because like we'd never had this issue before. And it was, but God was faithful. And he kept reminding us over and over again. And one of the things that, especially when we first started the business, before we opened that window, we would pray, God, whoever we meet this today, like just help us be a blessing. And like now he's been so faithful in our business. And now, we have 2 trailers on military bases now, which that was never on our radar.
No.
But also like her having Allison. Allison is like the cutest little baby ever. She's so sweet. But her having Allison and being on maternity leave, really, I think I needed to trust Jesus without Liz.
I saw you grow so much in yourself and in your confidence in who you were, like just seeing it. And like even leading up to that, like so much had happened. Like you could see a change. And you know what? I'll say this. The biggest change that I ever saw in you was whenever she joined this church. I saw this family of this church love on her and help her and grow her and invest in her. And I was just so happy that she had found what had been like missing. You need those people to pour into you. I'm not looking at her. You need those people to like pour into you. And you guys did that. And I have seen her grow so much in like she has a podcast.
I know.
Like literally like she has gone from like being like just in her mind in this to like seeing what has happened in her life to now growing and being like, I can use this for the Lord and for good and to help. And I have a coffee trailer and we're going to witness to these people and we're going to be a light to these people and into the community. And she's still like the best friend and she's a mom and like all these things. And like, I have seen her just grow. And over that maternity leave, I was like, hey, you doing okay? You need anything? She's like, nope, got it. I got it. We hired someone, praise God, because we had we had to hire Miss Tiffany, and Tiffany came and she helped and she was the best. And so like that just helped everything, but just communication, miscommunication, figuring out how to communicate with each other. And we had to tell each other like how I was speaking to her on some things because I just don't think anything about it and I just kind of say it. It was not how she needed to hear it. And I had to learn how to communicate to Megan. Like if I just say something, I don't mean it in that way, like it, you know, I everything's tone. I've learned how to control my tone whenever I talk to her, and then she has like vice versa, like communicating in general. Like, I can't read your mind. You have to tell me what you want, you know. And we had to learn that about each other. And like, she has helped me look into how I speak to people and grow. And both of us having to like work on that miscommunication. And that was one of the biggest things in our business, was whenever you took over, whenever I went on maternity leave, and the fact that I got on maternity leave, I was so like panicked. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm going to have to take my
It's
kid.
my business. I can't leave.
I know.
Well, and
like, I can strap her on in the 100-degree trailer weather.
But I think like it's amazing to look back at like how God is faithful, and His timing is perfect timing. And one of I'm going to share this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, and I may have shared it on here before. I don't know, but I feel like this is so. It reflects our lives, like us being in Pensacola. It also reflects our business. It reflects our friendship. But I think honestly, it reflects anybody's life, to be honest. Because I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own plans that we pray, God, help this to happen, whenever our prayer should, like, God, help me be willing to do whatever you want me to do. Help me conform to your will, not my will, because we should want what God wants for our life. And so our will should be God's will. And, so it's by Ray Blackston, and it said, we spend vast amounts of time and energy crafting a thesis in our heads of how life should play out. Then Almighty God spends an incredibly brief amount of time blowing our thesis to bits. And that is so true. Like, we could plan. And God's like, nope. Like, the first week of business, we came across somebody about getting us on the military base. That was never we never thought that would happen. But I also saw God just, I needed, like, she needed that maternity leave. She needed that time with her baby.
Absolutely.
And I needed to be reminded that I'm not trusting in Megan. I'm not trusting in Liz, because I would like, oh, Liz knows how to do this. Like, I don't have to worry about it. And like, she had more confidence. At least she came off more confident pulling the trailer than I did. Like, I'd be like,
till you make it.
oh, you want to drive? Here you go. And especially at night, because my eyes are real bad.
Oh my.
But
We're gonna talk about that.
but I didn't have her to lean on, and God was like, nope, Megan, you need to completely, fully rely on me. And she needed to the same thing, but on her maternity leave. Like, just like, I think we both grew a lot during that time apart, and God has just continued to bless our business. And now, kind of like how you were talking about, like, our lives, like, are, while yours is ministry, like, ours is coffee. And it's like inventory late at night, and like we just try to make our kids be a part of it. We allow them to come in the trailer. My kids get more tips than I do.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They come in and they're like, "Can I serve coffee?" Like, for, a few minutes here and there. I'm like, "Yeah," and like, they love it. And so whenever I have like inventory come in, they help me sort it, and like making them a part of it and making it fun.
Yeah.
It's just been amazing to see just how God has been faithful.
Especially whenever it's not His plan, like our plan.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, you said something that really stuck out. Like, you talked about, like, not communicating and how that can really ruin a friendship. And it makes me think about, like, our relationship with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's probably somebody out there that's listening that is thinking they're very far away from God, and He's never left, just like you never left Megan and Megan never left you. But communicating with Him through prayer and being in His Word is the way that you feel closest to God. And sometimes we can feel like we're fighting with God because He doesn't feel like He's there, but it's really our self has gotten in the way so much that we haven't spent time in His Word, and we haven't spent time praying, and we haven't spent time worshiping. So I just encourage someone, if they're listening right now and they feel like they're far away from God, like He hasn't left you. And same thing in a friendship or a marriage. If you're in a marriage right now and you feel like your spouse is very far away, like, communicate.
Mm-hmm.
That's bottom line, is communicate. You can't move forward without communication. And I think it's super important in all aspects of our life. Like, communicating to God is so vital to your relationship with Him. And I think that's the way you fix your relationship with your friends and your marriage. And I mean, obviously all problems aren't going to go away, but that's like the first step to moving forward.
Right. I think it's also too like laying down your pride,
Yeah.
because I know sometimes it's like, I'm going to let them make the first move, you know, but on the end, it's like, why? Like, just make that.
I wonder if Jesus said this to us, what would happen? Because we would have been making the first move and he wouldn't be pursuing us, but
Yeah.
he does pursue us.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One thing we do like to ask, and I know like we've talked about God's faithfulness. Is there any like scripture that just you kind of hold tight to that like God has used in your life, or maybe it's just somebody that is going through, maybe they're a pastor's kid, or if they've lost a baby, or they're just struggling with God's faithfulness, like that you can share with them?
Yeah. All through my life, I've definitely held Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. That's always been my life verse. But you know, throughout the different stages of your life, it means different things. And now as a mom, going through having lost a baby, going through life every day, it's so comforting to know that it is. You know, when Paul wrote that, he was really struggling, going through a lot of struggles, and the Lord's going to get me through it. How comforting to know that I'm not getting through it. The Lord's getting through it, and I'm just along for the ride. Like, he's the one powering me. He's the one giving me what I need to get through this. Like, how comforting. Because I never could have gone through, you know, having lost a baby and come out on the other side not knowing that hope that's there, you know, and just having that every day, the Lord filling me and, you know, just reminding me that he's got me and that I don't have to get it today. I don't have to have it together today. He's got me. Like, the Lord is the one who strengthens me through our trials and through our burdens. And we just have to rely on him, and he is our strength. It's not me. It's not Megan trying to do it every day. The Lord, give me the strength to get through today, just like you always do. And that in every area of my life, every all stage, that verse has always just been my verse. And I feel like it's just so applicable for any struggle that you're going through.
That's good. I think it's time also for our.
You want to close it out?
You do it. You do it so well. I don't want to take it from you because sometimes I take your questions.
Oh, well, you can take mine this time. So the last little segment of our episodes we like to do is called A Moment at the Well. And I know you've touched on different aspects of your life of God's faithfulness, but is there any like specific pivotal moment in your life where God met you, that he just drew you closer to him?
Honestly, I think it was one of those subtle moments, you know, shortly after having lost the baby, you know, that'll do anything to you. You know, it gets you to come close to God. But I think that one of those, that was about 3 years after 3 years that we had been married.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was still really struggling with my attitude as far as where I was in life, my job and everything. And I was still holding a lot back, just, you know, what Megan had touched on earlier. And I think that it was shortly after that I started telling myself, like, I am holding myself back from so much that I could do for the Lord. And I could just help people with my attitude, simply because it's like, I just didn't want to be where I was in life. I didn't want to be there. And I was like, but why? The Lord has me here in this place and in this time for this reason right now. Stop, get over yourself, and move past it. And I think that it was just during that next year that I really just like felt a weight lifted off of me. I had, you know, just been so burdened down with like, oh, I didn't want to be here. I was like, okay, 2 years is up. Okay, 3 years is up. Okay, why are we still here? And it was just the devil came at me because he knew that he could get me there. He knew he could get me on my attitude. And I think that shortly after all of that is whenever, you know, I was just like, I am wasting time here whenever I could have been doing so much more for the Lord, so much more for myself. Like, okay, well, you want a church family. You have one. Just get involved. You have friends here that you can make family. Just do it. Like, just be content with where you are. And I think that it was really just like a subtle over that next whole year, just a heart change. And whenever you have a heart change that you yourself have to, because only you can do it, like, you have to tell yourself in your mind to get over yourself and that you have to move past it. And then just seeing how much lighter you feel, and just seeing a change in how you view things and like where you're at in your life. I think that's honestly what one of those like moments at the well, I guess for me, it was very humbling where I was like, you got to get over yourself, Liz. You got to move past it. And it's been better since then. I mean, you still need those moments to come back, but like, it's definitely
We're still
gotten a lot
human.
better. Still human moments.
That's right. We got to die to ourselves every day. Well, we're super thankful that you joined us today. I know that, Megan has had the pleasure to be best friends with you for a long time, but like being able to talk to you and hear more about your story has just been, it's been a blessing. So thank you for
course.
sharing. All right. Happy birthday
Thank you.
again.
Well, we're done worrying about me.
Again. Give Megan.
See ya.
Give Megan some love in the comments. And if you haven't already liked our Facebook, do that. We also post on YouTube. So if you're a YouTube watcher, we see you. We're thankful for you. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much. Hope you have a blessed day.
It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day, hey. Wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day, hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay. Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade, yeah. Chase those clouds away. It's a brand new day, hey. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new day, okay, okay. My whole life got them hand-me-downs, but what that meant was I had my family round. And sometimes I can't help but frown. Then I remember what I meant for. It's so simple, I just say, gotta just celebrate. It's gonna be A-okay. Life's too short to waste away. One step at a time's all it takes, okay. It's a brand new day, hey. Wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day, hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay. Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade, yeah. Chase those clouds away. It's a brand new day, hey. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new day. I'm acting brand new, you can tell that bad news. It can go in van moves, I'ma be like, achoo. I'm allergic to a bad mood, ayy. Okay, let me ask you, if you got a smile on your face, raise your hands up, ayy. That's the mantra, so get up off your feet, go ahead, stand up. Okay, what's the plan, huh? Woke up every day like this. It's a brand new day, hey.